Hi, I'm Sarah Landry, and this is my leadership profile presentation for Leadership 3723. I did mine on Ernest Shackleton. So, Ernest Shackleton of 1914 and his crew embarked upon the vessel called the Endurance. Their destination was the South Pole in an attempt to make the first land crossing of the Arctic continent. The expedition came to an abrupt end when the ship became trapped by ice just 1,000 miles from the Earth's most southern point. Shackleton and his crew grew severely ill, abandoned the ship that later sank, and drifted among sheets of ice for months until reaching Elephant Island, where they were later rescued. And this had never been done before, reaching the Earth's most southern point, so Ernest was very, very determined to do this, and it was a very dangerous expedition, but he wanted to do it, and he wanted to be the first, and so, let's see, that's just what I will be covering. And then this is a film that was created using words from Shackleton's personal journal that he wrote throughout the expedition, and it's only about 2 minutes long, but I'm not going to play it, and I would suggest that you watch it, though, because it's a really great video. So, Shackleton was born in the late 1800s in Ireland to a family of 10 other children, and he was an avid adventurer even in his younger years, and he was very in touch with both Mother Nature and human nature. He was very much a people person, and he just loved to be in the outdoors and explore, and that is the reason that I chose him, because I myself am an avid traveler, and within the last 2 years I've been to over 30 states to do backpacking and camping and just explore in general. So I really admire his determination to see the world and to push limits that have never been done before. That's something that I want to do in my future, and it's very accomplishing to go on trips and things like that and discover things. There's so many beautiful places to go, so I thought he was really inspirational. So, his early childhood experiences that were influential on his later life. So at the very young age of 16, he convinced his parents to let him go to work at sea, where he started at the very lowest ranking of the crew members, kind of doing the dirty work, things that no one wanted to do but had to be done. In a very short few years, he worked his way up to being the full master. Just because of his determination, his perseverance, he knew where he wanted to be, and so he was going to do whatever it took to get there. So this is a quote from the book. It says, "As he scaled the maritime ladder, the young man grew restless. He complained that he needed an opportunity of breaking away from the monotony of method and routine, from an existence which might eventually strangle his individuality." So he liked the work that he was doing, and he just felt stuck, and he was craving something greater and something more of an adventure, and to actually have an impact on something. So he caught wind of an expedition to Antarctica in the early 1900s, and he joined that, and there was kind of some disputes among crew members and other leaders that he was working with, and it was a complete failure. And this happened before he planned his own expedition of the Endurance, and one of the other crew members, one of the top leaders, kind of talked about him in a negative light to the public, and so this fueled a desire in him to create a name for himself and show the world the man who he really was, which was a man that was capable of doing extraordinary things. And so I think that kind of had the biggest impact on him, because he knew what he was capable of, and it just didn't really work the first go round. So, all great leaders, they they fail at something once and they take the lessons that they've learned and then they push forward. They don't quit. So that's what he did. So the crisis. I just liked this quote. But anyways, there were many crises on this expedition. A few are, the ship's engulfment by ice caps, forcing them to travel on foot. His sickness was scurvy. The declining physical and mental health of not only him, but also his entire crew. People starving, frostbite, below freezing temperatures, having to camp on ice caps and things like that. The whole thing was very dangerous, but through all these things, he fought hard and he would not accept the failure of losing any men. And he knew what his goals were, and so he pushed through all the crises like no one ever could, and remained a great leader. So for his leadership style, as for traits, he exemplified sociability, confidence, determination, intelligence, and integrity. So Shackleton saw the value in working as a team, and he did his best to create a crew that was unified and functioned as a whole, because he had experienced on previous expeditions, the dangerous consequences of discord, and he knew this time, to establish a cohesion, and to gain the confidence and respect of all of his members. So, So the book definition of sociability is defined as a leader's capability to establish pleasant relationships, are friendly, outgoing, and have good interpersonal skills. So all of which Shackleton displayed. And to instill unity and faith, Shackleton arranged these nightly meetings where the whole crew would meet together, have dinner, they would play games, participate in sing-alongs, and he was always present at every single one. Just really showing them that he would be there for them and he cared about each and every one of them. Second, confidence. It is self-assurance, belief that they can accomplish their goals and move forward on projects with clear vision. So Shackleton, he would never let his men see his fears or concerns because he knew the influence that his demeanor had on his team. And his confidence and optimism was contagious to all of the men, and they would not have made it as far as they did without it. For intelligence, it is having good language and perceptual skills along with reasoning ability. It's being aware of what is going on around them and understanding the job that needs to be done. So his preparation before the expedition was extremely thought out and organized, very detailed, from studying nutrition and what they would need to survive, to purchasing the latest and best thermalware and shelters. He even kind of met with a nutritionist and created a protein bar almost. He knew the implications of the terrain and the harsh conditions that they would face, so he prepared accordingly. He also set out a very specific ad that was clearly stating the mission that they would be participating in. And he hand-selected each of the members of his crew because he knew the exact type of men that he needed to survive this intense journey that they would begin together. And this is what the ad said. It said, "Men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success." So for determination, leaders are very focused and attentive to tasks. They know where they are going and how to get there, and most importantly, they have the capacity to persevere in the face of obstacles. So Shackleton learned determination as a very young boy, like I said, where he worked his way up on the ship. His hard work, perseverance, and determination was noted by all, and everyone was inspired by it. He pushed that from the preparation to the start of the journey, throughout, despite illness, hunger, frostbite, and even the sinking of the ship, to the journey on foot, and he did not give up. until every single man was rescued and safe and sound. So lastly, and very importantly, he possessed integrity. Someone of integrity displays honesty, trustworthiness, is loyal, dependable, and transparent. So a crew member once said, he didn't lead solely by dint of his authority. He believed he had to earn his men's trust and loyalty, and he did this by connecting personally with each expedition member. Leaders with integrity also inspire confidence in others because they can be trusted to do what they say they are going to do. Another crew member stated, he had a way of compelling loyalty. We would have gone anywhere without question, just on his order. So for philosophy, he kind of had a little bit from each. So from Theory X, he displays the notion that a leader plays a significant role in encouraging others to accomplish their work. So due to the nature of the job and severity of conditions they would encounter, Shackleton knew he would need to direct the team and constantly encourage them to push through. And this was not because he thought that they didn't want to work or they weren't capable of work. He just knew that it had to be very organized and thought out throughout the entire thing. For Theory Y, he viewed his crew as people that were willing to work and were responsible for their tasks because they knew what they were signing up for and what they had committed to. So whenever he publicly announced about the expedition in 1913, like the ad that I showed you, it was said that hundreds, even maybe thousands of people applied to this job. So, he knew these people were willing to work and that they were responsible for the tasks that they were given, and that they actually wanted to do it. So, as for style, he used parts of authoritarian because on this type of expedition, one person must make all of the decisions. He learned that on the previous expeditions that two head leaders would not work and they tend to dispute, which leads to great dysfunction. So an authoritarian leader is one that determines tasks and procedures for group members. So he also implemented some techniques of the democratic style. Let's see. So he worked with all of the members, treating them equally, and was connected to each one of them on a personal level. If he caught someone, a moment alone, he would ask them how they were handling things, what they liked, what they disliked. He really wanted to see them, be okay with what they were doing and push through their tasks. So, and he wanted each of them to know that they were a valuable asset to the team. These are just some pictures. These are kind of some teepees or tents that they would camp in on the ice caps. And you can just see there's so much ice in his beard from how cold it was. So for implementing vision, creating vision requires the capacity to challenge people with compelling visions of the future. To create vision, a leader needs to be able to set forth a picture of a future that's better than the present and move others towards a new set of ideals and values that will lead to the future. I believe that Shackleton was very successful with this. This expedition was very dangerous and life-threatening, yet he was able to present his vision so clearly and in such an empowering way that, hundreds, even thousands of people signed up for it and wanted to be a part of it because of the way that he portrayed it and the way that he also implemented it. And so I don't think that there was anything that he could have done differently. But as for me, I would like to think that I would be able to handle the situations how he did, due to my, camping and backpacking travel experience. I know the importance of staying optimistic and in situations that, you want to lose all hope and give up, but that will do nothing for you and positivity and strength are absolutely vital to survival. And I've learned all those things, so I like to think that I would be somewhat similar to him. So as for sacrifices, one of them was the huge responsibilities and pressures of being a leader on such a dangerous journey. You're in charge of 20-something men, and, you planned this journey and their life were pretty much in your hands. And there's just a lot of pressures that come with being a leader to that extent. And so, he had to sacrifice just how people viewed him and how he viewed himself if he were to fail. And another sacrifice was a life on land with his loved ones, including his wife, and honestly just a life in general, because he was sacrificing his life on this. So he sacrificed his mental health and the possibility of a failed attempt, along with a respect from the public. And so that's kind of the ship that they were on, and there's all of the dogs that they would use with the sleds. And this was the crew, and this is kind of a picture of the Endurance when it was docked by the ice. So, emotion management, let's see. So emotional intelligence is concerned with a person's ability to understand both his and others' emotions and then apply that to life's tasks. So Shackleton knew the value of his presence and the influence that he had on his crew. So with that being said, he acknowledged the emotions that he had, but he never let them dictate his daily performance. He never let them see his worries or fears, and he always stood strong in his leadership. One crew member even said that he never appears to be anything but the acme of good humor and hopefulness. He is one of the greatest optimists living. So for my personal reflection, I learned a great deal about leadership from learning about Ernest Shackleton, and he appears to be one of the greatest leaders of all times, in my opinion, just with his ability to overcome sickness and continue a team of starving, exhausted, frostbitten, and lifeless men to safety is truly, remarkable, and a piece of history that I'll never forget. And he didn't lose not one man on this journey, and that's just amazing. All right, and that was all I have. Thank you.